Good morning, good afternoon. Sorry, good afternoon, everyone out there in TV land. Thanks for joining us today on another podcast. I'm Mark,
I'm Lewis.
And I'm Mike.
and today we got some good comments or just some good topics to talk about. We'll talk about the return of Enhanced Autopilot. Lots of people have been wanting that to come, and so it's finally here. We'll have some discussions about that. We're also going to talk about what's next with FSD. There's lots of things, lots of comments coming up and speculations. We'll see what that's about. Also, the future state of EV ownership. What does this mean? Would you imagine having a subscription based EV? We'll see what Mike says about that. There's also going to be some topics about Plaids being qualifying for Pikes Peak. A lot of Tesla gearheads know about that. We might get to some viewer comments. Well, we don't know. Depends on how things go. But just strap in because guess what? Episode 14 starts now. Again, thanks everyone for hanging out with us today on a beautiful, wonderful Sunday. Lewis and Mike, it's great to see you guys. It's been a while since I've seen you, but we've had some nice things happen. Christmas came for Lewis finally, so we give a golf clap because Lewis finally got his plaid. I mean,
Yay.
ever since the beginning of this podcast, Mike was like, Lewis was like, yeah, I had these different VINs and I had to cancel a VIN because of the Matrix headlights and that kind of kicked them down the road for a while. But I think the wait was worth it. So without further ado, Lewis, please tell us the whole entire process, and if you can, if you had any issues with it, if you had some, because my car was nice, but it's a 3. But the S's and Plaids are a little, whatever. So
A little upscale.
They're special.
They
are special.
So let us know the whole process. And you've had it for a week, right?
Yeah, I've had it for a week and a day. I got it a week ago Saturday.
So let us know the whole process from picking it up and then your first moments when you had it when you got home.
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, I love it. It's fantastic. So really, it was definitely worth the wait. Yeah,
sharp,
I was supposed to pick it up on Tuesday, and on the Saturday before in the morning, I got a message from Tesla. They were just like, "Hey, so your car is ready early. Would you be interested in coming and getting it today?" And I was just like, "Well, that's a stupid question." I was like, "What time can I come and get it?"
Exactly.
So so I basically went there and picked it up early. It was fantastic. What I'll say is I was not happy with, and I'd seen people on TMC had written about this. They did not let me in the car until I accepted delivery.
Yeah, that's the same with
So
me when
that's-
it got delivered. Yeah.
That seems to be their mode now. So I went there. I did do a trade-in. Tesla's offer wasn't as good as some other places, but I wanted the tax deduction.
The tax deduction.
And then I also didn't want to deal with the hassle. So drove there in my old car. That was fantastic. That they just like jumped in it and just took it, done, like accepted. They didn't look at it. They didn't care about anything, quality. They didn't, nothing. It was just, here you go. And so they took that. And I walked around the outside of the car first. Didn't see any major issues. Panel gaps are okay. There's nothing too crazy. And then so I accepted the car, but I made the guy, like, I basically made him say, like, dude, if there's any issues I find when I get in there, like, you guys are fixing that, right? You're not going to be, messing with me. And he's like, no, we won't do that at all. So, accepted delivery. My wife and I went in the car, messed around with it for, I don't know, a bit before we took it. Probably there for 30, 40 minutes at the service center, making sure everything was good. Did find 2 notable issues. So you can see that basically the driver's side A-pillar, the clip behind basically does not stay in place. So I was like appalled. I was like, how this car costs so much money? Like, how did you miss this?
Exactly.
And I actually complained to them, like, why didn't you fix this before I got here? Like, you can't tell me you didn't notice that. And they claim they did notice that, and they don't want to fix it. They don't want to fix it without me reporting it. I don't know. He gave me this whole spiel about how it would be good to go back. They want the customers to put service so it notifies the manufacturing that there's defects. And I'm like, that's a bunch of BS.
Yeah.
I've worked in industry before. Like,
Right.
it doesn't matter if it's an internal and external reporter of an issue. An issue's an issue. It's gonna so whatever. But that's what he said, so it's fine. So they're gonna fix that. And the other one was the like hidden drive modes that they have down in the center console. If your computer dies, you can press it and it'll illuminate. Part of the letter D is always visible because the plastic is like scratched underneath on the inside. So they just have to replace that piece. So it's basically like a plastic piece has to get replaced, and then whatever they got to do for the clips for the A-pillar. So I reported it on the Saturday, and they told me, oh, mobile service, come to your house on Tuesday. It should be nice. And I was like, great, 2 days. That sounds awesome. Monday, they come up to me and go, or they message me and they go, yeah, about that. One of those 2 fixes requires some tools that mobile service can't do, whatever. So you got to bring it into the service center. It'll be on the 30th. So it was a week later. I was like, all right, fine. So 2 days ago, they then go, oh, the parts are ordered, but they won't be in here in time for your service center delivery. So they push you back another week. So now I'm scheduled for July 7th. So I'm going to have the car a little over 2 weeks with these things being broken before they'll fix it.
And the A-pillar right in your vehicle.
Right in my face, man. I'm just like right in my face. But it's fine. It's drivable. I kind of like push it up there, and if I move like the rubber around a little bit, I can kind of get it to stick for a bit. So it's never like fallen down while I've been driving. And they're gonna fix it for free. Obviously, it's kind of like it's my new baby. Everyone's asking for pictures, and I'm like, well, I don't really want to take pictures of the interior because I got these 2 things that are visible. So I keep like telling people like, oh yeah, soon I'll get them to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
so overall, you've been on the forums for a while, and so you've read other Model S deliveries over the course. So do you think from what you've heard, from what you've read, based on your experience, do you think Tesla have improved? Do you think it's gotten worse? So what do you think?
I definitely think it's improved because like when I've seen pictures and threads on TMC, like some people were very right to be angry. I mean, like with what they were having wrong with their cars. I mean, the paint was good overall. I didn't see any major things. The panel gaps were fairly okay. I think they've gotten a lot better at that. I didn't have like scratches around, like some people, they get their car brand new and it's like, oh yeah, they got scratched up during transfer. I didn't have any of those types of issues. So I mean the A-pillar thing is kind of ridiculous. That was like, are you kidding me? But overall, I think I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty fortunate that it hasn't had worse than that. So
no, you haven't experienced the shake that everybody else seems to be talking about.
Great question. So I've driven it. My top speed currently is like 125, so I've driven 0 to 125, and I've launched it a couple times. So I've done the like super fast.
Was your wife in the car?
She was not.
She hasn't experienced it yet.
She has not. She's not experienced the launch yet. No, and I've done mostly highway driving, but I've driven about 150 miles in it so far. I have not had any shake, any of the rattling vibration stuff that people have had. So I mean, we'll see. Like, it also could be ride height as well. Like I've seen things about like, are you in low suspension, medium? Right now, I've been in medium suspension height because my driveway, there's a whole thing, and I didn't want to mess with it. So I've only had it in plaid mode. I've only had it in what is it, like sport or whatever, like the more aggressive handling is.
Yes.
And I haven't changed any of that. I had people recommend like, oh, try the other modes. I'm like, yeah, eventually I will, but so far so good. No, so the funny thing with the launch, when I went to go launch it, drove down to a friend of mine lives about 30 minutes south of Austin, and we had this nice roadway, and it was like, oh, this would be awesome. He wouldn't do it with me. He chickened out because we were driving around first, and he's like, dude, the car, this power, like I can't deal with it. Like I'm gonna get sick. So he got out of the car, and his wife got in the car with me, and she went with me, and we did a couple launches, and it was a lot of fun.
did the G forces, man? You take off. That's just that whole thing. You just go in the seat, and you're like,
It's unflattering for sure. Like I put my GoPro mount in the dash to like see what it was, and when I looked at it afterwards, the facial expression of me, it's like I'm so focused on like making sure I'm controlling the car. It's a very unflattering shot. Like the video clip, it's just like, and you're just screaming the whole time, like swearing because you're like,
God.
oh my God, it's
my
pushing
God.
you. But it was amazing.
Okay, so you've had a couple of nights or whatever, but the $64,000 question is, have the Matrix headlights lived up to their hype?
Oh my
We
God.
gotta know this. This is the whole
That's right.
reason.
Did you run the light show?
Yeah, just do the light show. I mean, what have you done?
I haven't done the light show yet.
Oh,
I know.
bruh.
I'm boring.
Oh
and
my
I've
God.
honestly only had the headlights turn on like once for a little while, like for a short amount of the drive. I've mostly driven during
Aren't
the
they
day.
supposed to say like Tesla?
It does. It's supposed to write Tesla on the wall. I haven't done it yet.
I can't believe this dude.
I will
And you
try.
call yourself a fanboy?
So here's the thing. I want.
I mean, this dude, the entire podcast. Oh yeah, I had to wait for the Matrix headlights.
That's right.
Da, 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 da,
That's
and I'm not getting the car. And he's like, well, I haven't used it yet. And da, da, da. I'm like,
Well,
bro.
you remember, Mark, to hear him talk, he was counting like it's been, 6 months and 3 weeks and 18 hours and 36 minutes. I mean,
Exactly.
Oh man, I'm sure they'll be amazing. No, they've been good for the very brief time that I've used them. Again, mostly during the day so
my
far.
God.
They were really good, and I will be happy with the Tesla writing, but I mostly want them for when they unlock the software, when they actually are allowed to with regulations in the U.S. It's more of the future proofing.
Okay.
Hold your breath.
Yeah. Yeah. So you did purchase full self-driving, right?
Sure did.
Okay, you didn't do subscription. Okay, so lots of people are excited because we had enhanced autopilot at one point, and it kind of went away. Now it's actually coming back. So a lot of people who want to get into everything that does without paying the $14,000 that I paid. And what'd you pay for yours, Mike, Lewis, at the time?
It was 12 grand.
12, yeah. So
Yeah, 12
that
grand.
outrageous amount.
I
but
did not pay.
I know, Mike. You're the smart one in the bunch, but
Yeah, Mike's
but,
definitely the smart one.
yeah. So what do we what do we think about it now? Is it the same kind of features as the old school enhanced autopilot? Is there anything in it that's enticing for people to get now? Do you think more people will jump into this now because it's 6,000, even though it doesn't have the full self-driving? Do you think now, this second time around, you think it's going to be more of a push? People are going to be more happy to jump into that and get into it now. Like maybe
No.
Mike might get enhanced autopilot.
No,
Mike said no. Okay.
no. If they gave me a cheap subscription, $50 a month, I'd probably jump on it just because I like to play with it.
So you think
Yeah.
it's worth $50, but not more?
Yeah, I think from what I've seen on the boards recently, it seems to be somewhere between $50 and $99. That's the sweet spot that people are saying. Yeah, I'd probably bite for it. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I mean,
they'd probably do it for $99, right? Because it's $199 for the other, and it's
Well,
half
that's
the
kind of the
price.
thinking.
So
That's the
yeah.
thinking.
yeah, but I mean, there's a slide that was posted on Twitter, and I think the kudos goes to I'm gonna get the people right at Tesla Hype, and they break down exactly what enhanced autopilot is, and all of them. I think this is a really cool kind of a breakdown. But the main thing that it doesn't have is the auto steer on city streets and traffic and stop sign control. So, Mike, were you able to use this traffic and stop sign control when you rented it, when you tested out
No,
the FSD?
no,
Did you ever want to try it? You just never.
didn't have it.
Oh, it wasn't on there, huh?
Yeah, wasn't there.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
And I think that's because we've talked about this before, that what you rent is way behind what the beta has.
I see. Yeah. Now I've done it. Actually, I did it yesterday by accident. I was in traffic control. I was going someplace and there was some traffic on the street. I said, well, let me just fool around. And so it actually, I did it the first time, like a long time ago when it first came out. When we first had the option to do it, I did it then, and I haven't really done it since because once I got into the FSD beta, I was kind of letting it do that, and that's really fantastic. But I tried it yesterday, and it's actually nicer. It slows down really gracefully. It lets you know that the stop signs are there, and it slows down. And then it eases off gracefully. So I think that part of it is better. But in terms of the enhanced autopilot, I mean, I think it's worth a little bit more than $100 because it's still you're still giving data back to Tesla, to the motherload, and they're getting that data to kind of make
Well,
it
you're
better.
right. My data is worth more than $100, which means they ought to be paying me.
Okay.
I,
Okay.
I feel like I feel like Enhanced Autopilot is probably worth it because it's basically what I have now since I'm not in the FSD beta, and I think it's better than I expected based on how people have talked about it. That being said, it's anecdotal. It depends where you live and how it works in those the roads and stuff. But
Right.
it works really well, at least here where I live. On the highways, the navigating, all that on the lane changing, the traffic control, all that stuff is quite good. I mean, there are times it messes up. It's definitely not perfect. But I feel like it's probably worth it because really, if you're spending the 10 or 12 grand or whatever, if you bought it in the last year or so, this is going to do everything you had other than FSD beta stuff. So now it's basically cheaper for you. Now, it kind of, to me, almost erodes people's buying the FSD because, like, right now, like, literally right now, there's no advantage to buying FSD if you're not in the beta. So, like, if you're choosing between them, like, I would buy EAP for sure because you're getting everything. Now, the FSD beta, stuff, if that goes a wider release, if that adds more functionality, then there might be some distinction where it's like, oh, it's really worth it. Although, I would question, a lot of other manufacturers for the features that are in EAP, they just roll that into the price of the car. They don't charge you extra for it. So I'm curious to see how long Tesla gets away with.
They don't right now, but there's a lot of discussion behind the scenes that that's all going to change in the next year or two.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, it's true. It's kind of like, is Tesla setting the path and other folks are going to start charging as well? Or are the other folks going to keep the price point and then Tesla's going to maybe feel obligated to roll it in? I don't know. I don't see Tesla doing that. They have people willing to pay. I mean, I was willing to pay.
Blue Feather Nation says,
Yeah.
"I want a full refund now in caps." So,
well, you're not alone.
yeah. I mean, I get the argument about, people, I bought full self-driving years ago. I've yet to get it. Yeah, I bought it both times on two different cars, and I paid full price for it. And, I understand what it is. And sure, Elon promised the moon. When he said it, I got it. And he's kind of backpedaled a little bit. But it's still cool as ish. The full self driving is still fantastic, and it's still worth the price of admission, in my point, because it takes a lot of the hassle. And if you're driving, if you're in a big city, it really does take a lot off you in stop and go traffic.
It's fantastic.
If you're out in Rhode Island someplace or whatever, and it's like two or three cars. I mean, maybe it's not. Maybe you don't understand the value of it, but when you see it in action in a city highway interstate with lots of cars and lots of things happening, you then start to expect, at least I not expect, you appreciate what the car can do, how it can maneuver around. And sure, it's kind of overly cautious about things. It wants you to kind of like, jiggle the steering wheel before I make a move. But we understand it's a safety reason. But the point is that it handles all these things. And I've done Mad Max out here on the 405, and it's kind of interesting, but it maneuvers around, especially when people are driving slow in the turning lane. I mean in the fast lane.
Sure.
So for me, I hear what people say, but because I'm in the city and it's a lot of cars, a lot of traffic, I appreciate it more because of it handles a lot for me. That's just
That's fair. I mean, I agree. I think there's a lot of justification in people being upset when they bought their cars several years ago. For example, Blue Feather Nation
Blue
right there,
Feather.
2017.
Right.
So I can, commiserate and I feel, sympathetic towards, like, I agree. It's if you bought it years ago, now granted it was a lot cheaper then, but still, it's still thousands of dollars. It's kind of misleading and can be, you can feel betrayed or almost like they took advantage of you if that you never actually get FSD in your car. I think if you look at it from a perspective of like tech improvements in your car, right? Having the better computer and the cameras and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I think now it's maybe more worth it than it was for sure a few years ago.
Sure.
But who knows? I mean, Tesla has not achieved FSD yet. No car company really has. So maybe none of our cars will be able to truly do it either. Yeah, I agree, Jones. Major city traffic is awesome. Like I used it one day where I was in really bad traffic downtown here, and it was phenomenal. Like just doing its thing. So
Now, how did it make you feel, Lewis? Did you feel like you wanted to take control of it, or did you feel like it could handle the situation you were putting it through?
the only times that I've wanted to take control are when I feel like it's accelerating too slow.
That's it.
Because it's definitely cautious.
Yeah.
I did have a forced disengagement today where it shut off and then it did that. I'm not going to let you use FSD until you stop the car. And
FSD bait jail.
Yeah, I was in FSD jail. And that was because there was a car all the way in the left lane. Like the speed limit was like 70, 75. So of course everyone's going 80, 85 or whatever. And there was a guy going like literally 68 or something in the leftmost lane. There's like 4 lanes in the highway. And I'm just like, what is this guy doing? And I'm behind him. And I got really annoyed. And the cars to the right of us were flying past. And I was kind of like, I'm going to, I just basically like quickly jumped into the other lane, gunned it, which was a lot of fun because there was another Tesla behind me. And he was like following me because, he knows that I have
That's
the plaid.
cool.
You know what I mean?
That's
And I was just like, boom. And I just launched it and took off. And I went like, mid 60s to like 95 like that. Like it was instant. And then the car's like freaking out because there's cars in front of me.
Yeah.
And I'm
You're
like, yeah, but the
accelerating.
lane's good. So I changed lanes so it was fine. But like, yeah, anyway, it was fun. But yeah, no, I think outside of that, like normally when it's driving, I haven't felt like, oh man, it's doing something stupid or it's out of control. Although it did scare me for a bit with the we get a lot of those stupid yellow blinking things on the lights on the
Yeah.
side of the road.
Yeah.
And it thinks they're traffic lights, right? Because
Right.
it doesn't
Yeah.
know.
Right.
So you're going by and it's like, oh, am I going to slow down a little bit because there's traffic lights? But
Yeah.
otherwise, it's pretty good.
It's okay. So you feel pretty comfortable using it.
I think so.
Yeah,
Again,
okay.
you got to keep your hands on the wheel. You got to pay attention.
Yeah. You gotta
Mark,
make sure all of
no
that,
weights
yeah.
on the wheel.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
telling you,
Okay,
Mark.
Yeah.
You know?
So have you tried the summon feature of it yet? Have you ever had a reason to do it?
I haven't done summon yet, no.
Man,
Yeah.
look. Hey,
Party
look.
trick. Party
Oh
trick.
my gosh. One day I was had this honey and these other ladies in the car, and so I had parked next to it. It was in a garage, and I parked next to one of the concrete pillars. So, I can't open the door because it's next to the pillar. Oh, how do I do this? I can do summon. So of course
Here it comes.
I get out the car, I said, okay, ladies, just, hold up, because I had dropped them off. I had parked the car. So then I came back and then I said, hold up, let me, so I just, I got the fob, you press the roof and then you press the hood and that tells it how to go. And it just moves out. It anticipated where the pillar was. So it turned because it didn't want the mirror to hit it. So it kind of turned a little bit and straightened up. Oh my gosh, that was the coolest thing.
See, I want the James Bond control where I can pull my phone out and just, turn the car
Drive it.
wheel with my phone,
Oh my gosh, Louis, you got to try.
It's a giant RC car.
pretty much.
Yeah, you got to try it. But we've had some summon war stories. There was a cat who his name is JRob83. And he was like, don't summon your vehicle. So he said, I summoned my Model Y and it crashed to a curb, wrecked the rim, and peeled the tire like a pear. Brutal. And that photo there is brutal.
That
It
looks
hurts
brutal.
That
me.
is, yeah, that's
hurts.
harsh.
It hurts. But Mike mentioned it is kind of a party trick. Now, I will say this. I think in FSD beta when I had it back in in Unicorn, it is a little bit better in that it doesn't. When I had it before FSD beta, the thing would just dart. It was just like, But when I got FSD beta and then tried it there at it was at a Best Buy or something. It was more graceful, it moved more graceful, but it went the wrong way. I was like, it was going to go down and come back. Like, no, so I stopped it right in the middle of everything. But it pulled out of the parking stall, turned, there was a line there. It stopped the line and it kept on going. But instead of coming to me, it went down. It was going to come around. It's like, nah, that's okay. So it really is cool, man. But you do have to watch it. In early summon videos on YouTube where people do it, you see them all. You see the car kind of it wants to hit the curve for some reason. I'm not sure why. I guess because it's just it uses infrasonics. Ultrasonics, yeah, ultrasonics. I need more coffee. So it relies on that, I guess. But and I've seen it. I've seen cars go through. These are early ones where it would go through to get to you. Instead of going around, it goes through a parking spot in between two cars, and then one car hit a Range Rover, just crashed right into it.
Oh man!
But this was early. It was early times. But I think it's getting better though. I think that whole thing is getting better. But a lot of people in the comments still are afraid to use it. Which
so I gotta wonder, Mark. Tesla makes a really big deal when you lease a car from Tesla. They make this huge deal about rash on your wheels. So what if you get that rash from using their feature of auto summon?
Still your fault.
Yes,
it's still my fault. Oh, great.
Yeah, I mean, it's because they got that fine print. This is beta, and da 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 da. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta like Lewis said, you gotta drive with your hands on the wheel. You gotta.
But from auto summon, I can't drive with my hands on the wheel. I'm not in the car.
That's true. You are in the car, but you have to see it. You got to be able to see it.
I think it's supposed to be like, you're in front of a store, you can see it in the parking lot.
Okay.
And you're holding it to watch it come up to you.
But let's
because it's raining out or something.
These eyes are not the eyes of a 20-year-old. So,
mine neither. I got contacts.
That's an honest statement. I'm not gonna be able to see where that tire is at relative to the curb. Not well.
Well, I mean, that's honestly, so earlier today I was at a car event and there was a gentleman there with a Plaid that was complaining to me about the rims and how you can easily ding them.
Smack them, yeah.
And his comment was, I don't understand why Tesla hasn't developed software based on the sensors to not, to prevent you from scuffing your rims. Why do they even let you drive the car
close?
Where you're going to hit something? Because it should be able to, again, in theory, with sensors, to be able to tell, like, am I going to ding my ring or not?
It's funny you say that, because when I got my Model 3, the second day, maybe the third day of ownership, my wife took it, and she called me in tears because she had pulled into like a drive-through Starbucks or something, and she was looking for the alerts. She never got an alert for the curb, but she managed to smack a curb with the rear wing because it was just high enough to do damage, but not high enough to trigger the alerts that you were too close to something. And she had been trusting the tech, and the tech failed her.
That's why I'm not riding my car in low yet. I'm definitely afraid of doing that. I know it's going to happen, but
have you even changed the settings to watch it? Just kind of like
that I did do. I made sure that the suspension could do all this
work.
stuff. Yeah, I watched it, but yeah, I did not.
Now, when you drop the suspension, does it stiffen up?
It's a separate setting. So I'm not sure if it feels stiffer just from going low, but there is a separate setting for how stiff do you want it versus how high do you want it.
Interesting.
Because
that'd be fun to play with.
Yeah.
Party at Lewis.
Well, when you come to Austin, you're welcome to play with it.
We're gonna play auto summon. We'll raise and lower the car.
We'll do the Matrix headlights thing since he doesn't want to do
we'll
it.
have the light show in the garage door.
I'm gonna record a video of it just for you, Mark.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So the follow the kickback on this summon, in the comments where we mentioned J Rob, he's like, I expect Tesla to pay for it, bruh. I'm not sure why you think Tesla's going to pay for that, man, because they didn't tell it tells you got it's a beta and you got to watch where it's going. You can't just like sit there and just wait for it to figure itself out. And I'm sure this person's read horror stories about Summit. Well, I'm that's speculation, but
I mean,
he's been a member of the forum for a while. I'm sure he's seen that. You know?
I mean, there's, we've talked about it before, right? There's different levels of autonomy, and really the difference between, the levels of autonomy we are, level 2, working on level 3 to like level 5 is who's liable for when something goes wrong. Until you get to level 5, it's you. It doesn't matter. Even if full self-driving was amazing, if an accident or something happens, it's still your fault unless you're in a
still the
level 5
driver.
car.
Legally speaking,
it does
you're the
not
driver.
matter. So it doesn't matter if it's Tesla's fault. You're paying for it. That's just the nature of liability.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we all love Tesla. We love what it brings to the car, and we want to try all these features out. But we have to be we have to be mindful of what we're saying. So if you're going to say, hey, this is the best car ever, and all these cool tricks, and then if it fails you, oh, this is a piece of crap. Tesla needs to do something about it. I mean, we can't. You can't. It's unfair to Tesla. I mean, I'm not trying to go out here and beat a drum for them, but you got to play devil's advocate. There's so many unique situations out here in the world, and Tesla are trying to do the best they can. That's why they give they get feedback from. Go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say, this is like what we talked about last time, where does the Tesla in autopilot avoid potholes? And the answer is no, it doesn't, because it still requires you as the driver to be paying attention.
Yeah.
And if you hit a pothole in autopilot or full self-drive, is it Tesla's fault? No, it's yours.
Right.
You're on the wheel, you're driving.
Right. Yeah. So we have to just be mindful of that. We want everything now. It's like, people, it's like with smartphones, the new smartphone comes out. Oh man, I can't wait for this new smartphone that comes out. And as soon as we get the smartphones, oh, this is what's wrong with it. It's a piece of crap. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, it just came out, there may be some software updates. There usually are software updates coming down the road.
Are.
So, just temper your attitude. Like, okay, launch day software is this, is that, I got it, we're working towards it. But Tesla they're doing a lot of improvements, and unfortunately a lot of it is seen in the FSD beta. Doug Dirac, it says, except they're charging us now. Right. Well, you got to understand, you're right, we paid for it, but how else? I mean, you think of the people involved, and Lewis can talk about this. There's software developers that have to be paid, because why else would they want to do this? I mean, we all want to have a good job, but we all want to also contribute to this. But you have to pay them. You have to compensate them, because Tesla are a tech company, and they want the best people to come help them build their software. So you got to pay for it. We can't just not pay for it and wait for them to build it, because then.
Just think of it like Kickstarter, right? It's a pre-order. No, I mean it's a
Ouch.
It's a lot of money to say that, but I agree with Mark though. You're right in the sense of technically a car company has to make money on the cars. Now, a lot of legacy car companies didn't make money selling the cars. They made it off of parts and other things after the fact. Tesla, electric cars kind of don't have that luxury as much. They kind of need to make the money off of the initial sale more so. And the interesting thing is, you're right, there's a margin on how much they're making, and all of that margin has to cover all of the R&D and other types of costs of what's going into it. And having the ability to let people spend more money, which costs it's software, right? So it's effectively free for them to give it to us. To pay more money to help contribute towards that development is kind of a way of saying hey, crowdsource fund the development of this technology. Now, is that a reasonable thing to ask when you're the most valuable car company in the world, or whatever? You've got billions of dollars. I mean, I won't be the judge of that. I'll leave that to the viewer. But there's definitely something to be said for, they're looking for revenue streams to help fund that development.
You got to pay for all those factories burning billions of dollars, according to Elon.
Yeah.
I mean, making cars is a money pit, even the best of circumstances, and EVs are even more so.
Yeah, how else would Tesla, if I'm a software guy, and I went to MIT and I got all these degrees, why would I want to go work for a company that's just paying me minimum wage to, build the software for a car. Like you have to give them you have to entice the top the cream of the crop to come to your company because you want to release this good product and you want to
Yep.
do it before GM and for everyone else comes out. Nissan, they have their thing, and I remember when I got my QX. It was a QX. I got it in 2012. It was 2011. I got it in 2012, and it had the lane keeping stuff. And at the time, that wasn't really it wasn't really out in all the cars. So it was cool that it had traffic aware. I mean,
Right.
cruise in the front, but it also, if you ventured out of the lane, it would move you back in the lane. And in 2011, that was cool to me, And granted, Tesla
It's
was
still
already,
cool when it works.
yeah. I mean, it's always worked for me, but so that's very basic compared to what Tesla have now, And so I just think that we have to pay the price, pay the cost to be the boss. If we want Tesla to be the leader and we all love Tesla and we want it to succeed and be the best car maker, then we have to be willing to put in or be willing to accept these costs in order for them to maintain, because other companies are starting to finally get traction. Cadillac with their thing, their whatever it's called, Blue Cruise, Super Cruise, whatever.
Super Cruise.
Yeah, it's going to eventually get to an acceptable thing.
Mark, you're getting dangerously close to the fanboy line there.
Oh yeah, I mean,
You might have actually gone over.
I have to. I agree with Mike on this one because I mean a few minor things, and then we can talk about new exciting FSD stuff. But what I would have to say is there's a few things. One, now I don't want to say that Tesla doesn't pay well. I'm sure they do, and that it's a good paying job.
Cut your job.
But when it comes to just anything software in general, but like technology based, companies that work in really cool areas get away with paying a lot less because it's pure supply and demand. You get a lot of people that want to work on
Fair
the cool
point.
technology,
Fair
so you
point.
make a lot more money not working in those cool, sexy areas because they have to pay more to get the talent.
Fair point.
So I shouldn't say the best. I should say the highest paid software engineers do not work at places like Tesla. They work at places that do a lot of unsexy things.
I got you. Fair point.
But you're right. I mean, traditionally though, R&D and those types. I mean, that's what investors are for. That's what investment is for. That's what the stocks are for. That's what they're.
Right.
So I mean, I don't think that customers should be funding all of this development. I mean, autonomous driving. There's been many billions of dollars on many, dozens of companies. And we'll see what happens. But yeah, I get what you're saying though. It's certainly beneficial to Tesla for us to be paying for it.
Right,
That
for
doesn't
sure.
necessarily mean that we should be.
For sure.
But
for sure.
clearly, who am I to judge? I paid the $12,000, so I mean.
Right. So since you brought up Lewis, what's next for FSD? What's next for it?
So I mean, we don't know definitively, but there are rumors. There's been a leak-ish, sort of. The version 11 coming out, maybe.
Yep, maybe.
Maybe this summer, maybe
Maybe.
soon. I
Kinda,
mean,
sorta.
okay, version 11's definitely coming eventually. But I mean, when it'll be, it's maybe this summer. And what it looks like is the mystical, magical, wonderful, finally consolidating the stack down to one
Yes.
ML stack. We
Yes.
talked about
yeah.
this some podcasts ago. The big negative right now is all the legacy FSD stuff versus the beta. The beta's got all the new sexy models, the new training
Yep,
data, all the new stuff.
The legacy,
and the
not
old
so much.
stuff hasn't really improved very much in a while. It's not unfair to say that they haven't improved it at all. They have improved visualizations. They have improved some of the perception modeling, I think.
Right,
But like
yep.
the overall stack has not been really overhauled, except for the beta. So the city street driving, even if you have beta, the city street driving is way better than the highway driving and how that works. And what's leaked, what seems to be the case, is it's all going to be one tech stack. So we're going to get all the awesome, cool new stuff they used for city street driving to also work on the highway driving functionality and the smart summon and all these other types of things. So we should have one ML stack, which will be awesome for their ability to improve and train and get new updates out there to us, but also we get to reap the rewards of on the highway, which again, highway works pretty well, but working better would be good. So
Yeah.
we'll see if it comes out soon. I believe Elon tweeted something about he's been using it for a couple weeks now. And his
Yeah.
comment was, "It's not ready." So if Elon says it's not ready, we should be grateful the rest of us don't have it.
Exactly. Because we all sass Elon like, oh yeah, da da da. But when he says that, it's like, oh snap. If he
Yeah,
says
yeah,
that,
it's
then,
really not ready if he says it's not. So
But
They're-
but
they're-
at
they're-
least, go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say there's a few of those underpaid software engineers sweating right now.
yeah.
Man.
If he said the opposite, they would have been really unhappy. But yeah, no, he they're getting there. I think they're doing what they need to do, and I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, what I'm hoping is this whole EAP thing that rolled out.
Yeah.
And because it kind of erodes the point of getting
Yeah.
FSD, because
Yeah.
the functionality parity is now
Yeah.
like EAP and FSD are the same without the beta. That means that maybe the beta is going to go wide in the not too distant future, so I don't have to worry about babying my safety score, and I can actually enjoy the fruits of my $12,000.
I was going to ask you that. So it's just impossible. We talked about this kind of in the green room before we started the podcast, and that what Mike has, Mike has the ability on his car in his Model 3 to adjust the regen, and
Yep.
the regen is for me, and you can go through and look at lots of comments on the Tesla Motors Club forum where when you would get a new update, and then it would say, you know what, the regen feels weaker, and I felt the regen get weaker and weaker, and then once FSD beta rolled out back in the day, when the FSD beta rolled out, I said, well, I wonder if the reason why. And not the FSD beta, but when the safety score rolled out, I wonder if that's the reason why they were weakening the regen, because it's very easy, because you let off the pedal, the go pedal, and it just slows down
Very suddenly.
yeah, and it just, I mean, I like that. It's great that it's very aggressive, but the problem is it dings you in your safety score. So Mike has the ability to adjust his, but in newer firmware, newer models, you can't do it anymore. It's just on or off. So that sucks. But trying to stay in the FSD beta to keep your safety score is crazy. Now they've just lowered some of the scores, and Lewis, I think you mentioned to us, this is before we started the podcast, where there may be some, you may know someone who, or you've heard or read where some people have lower scores other than 98, 99.
Oh yeah, they've definitely lowered it down. For sure, 95 plus gets in. I'm pretty sure I've seen as low as 92 or 93 getting in. I'm definitely, or I shouldn't say definitely, I'm like 90% sure a 93 I've seen post that they got in. I'm not sure about lower than that.
Yeah.
But
That's
yeah,
still good, though.
yeah, I mean they're definitely opening it up more, which is good. And again, the good thing is you need the score to get in. Once you're in, it doesn't matter anymore what your score is. But but eventually, right, there's going to come a day where everyone gets it, no matter what your score is. Everyone's going to get it. I'm hoping that soon, so that I can get it too, because I do not quite have 93 yet.
So remember when I would talk about how it's just impossible to drive, and now you finally have your Plaid, and so you're now seeing how, because you bought so much power. This car has so much power, especially the Plaid S. So it's very difficult to drive this way, and it's just very difficult. And then the curve, like when you turn into an on ramp, you got to be very slow, or else you'll get dinged for that.
It's like, bro, I can power drive through this turn. Why are you making me go super slow? It's awful.
I know. Where's your safety score? How has it been since you got the car?
So I mean, right now it's going up, thankfully. It was literally.
Maybe we should start with the lowest.
Yeah. So starting out, like the first 3 days were really bad. It was basically, I mean, yeah, because you're getting used to the pedal, right?
Right.
So like my very first day, it was an 87.
Woo,
my second day, it was a 75. My third day, it was a 60. And that was just me progressively getting more and more used to the car and driving it. Now, though, I will say, since we had that wonderful thread we talked about on TMC, and I've been leveraging the autopilot as much as I can. Every day after that, though, I've had a 93, a 94, a 94, a 98. Today was a 98. I don't know how I did that. That was amazing. But anyway, so I think eventually, I'm on an 85 average right now. I'm hoping that I can get up to the 92, 93 range just long enough to get the beta, and then my score, and then I will stop doing that, and my score will go in the toilet again. So.
Right, and we don't. There's still no frequency at when people are coming in. It's still just kind of like happenstance, right? Or
it seems to be every week some folks get added, but from what I'm trying to remember, I don't even know that they were doing it like week to week. It might have even just been like every day a few people trickle in. It's hard to tell because we only get that data from seeing like when people update or like who's in the queue. And I guess if people aren't updating their software, I don't know, they might linger a bit. But yeah.
So as before do you mind sharing with us the car you had that you traded in for? Would you mind sharing it?
Sure. Yeah, it was a 40th anniversary 370Z.
Okay, so not a puny car by any standard. Right?
It's only 350 horsepower, but it was much lighter, so it still could go.
Right. So once you left that car and then you got into the Tesla, obviously it's an upgrade for you. Now that you've had the beta, the safety score, do you find yourself driving better, or do you think you're actually making it worse for people around you? Because
I think I'm making it worse.
Okay, because when I was doing it, I'm really trying to keep the space in front, of cushion behind. How to tell you in the DMV, But here in California, in LA,
that's hard.
It's an invitation for someone to get in front of you, and then before you know it, you're slowing down. To keep the cushion, and then there's your follow too close thing, dinging you, and you slow down. You just let off of it, but then that's your braking.
Sure.
And so people behind you, they're doing all this because you had to slow down. So even though I'm trying to be safe and do this, the world around me isn't safe, and so I'm making things more unsafe by trying to be safe.
Agreed.
Again, in rural areas, less populated areas, you can probably get away with that. But in big cities, so that, when we see these things, this is how you can this is how you can maintain a safety score. It needs to be an asterisk. It needs to say, if you live in, East Bubble crap, Maine someplace where no disrespect to Maine people, but I'm saying, Maine to LA, it's a little bit different in driving. So it's just very difficult because you have to drive for other people. So so you
for
feel
sure.
that it's
definitely worse. Yeah, like you're driving worse around other people because again, you're primarily driving with the software, the old software doing its thing, which does not accelerate very much, which tries to leave lots of room, which slows down all the time for various things. And I think the only saving grace, what I learned very quickly is, I can press the accelerator down while I'm doing it, and the car will go even though it's still under its control. If you couldn't do that, there's no way. Like, physically, it wouldn't be possible to do. In my opinion, it'd be awful. But because I could be like, no car, we're gonna go now, like hurry up. Because of that, it helps. But yeah, I mean, so I'm not in LA. I'm in, obviously I'm in Austin. However, Austin is like half the people are from California and the other half are from New York. I moved here from New York, so I came from the New York side. So I mean, yeah, there's definitely that whole if you leave room, people are cutting in. The follow distance thing, like that's just junk. Like, what I mean? Like, you cannot be on a highway and have safe follow distance in traffic in a city. It's not a thing. Like, it's not going to happen. So anyway,
it's a work in progress. We'll get there. So, something else that we should probably mention is the future state of EV ownership. So, the government wants a lot of people to get into an electric car because it's safe for the environment. Although some people say you're kicking the can down the road because you're having to, dig in the earth to get this lithium and all this kind of. So that's not the topic we're talking about.
That's a different discussion.
Yeah, but for the most part, the government wants us to get into that and to get more into EVs. And so now we're starting to see these kind of services crop up that where which to me is it's a cool gig, you to get the capital. But we see these services start up to where you can actually have a subscription service, like iPhone is coming out where you can just rent the phone, and once you get rid of it, get another one. So now there's companies. We know of one. Mike can give us some intel about one, just a case study about one where you can just everything is all inclusive. It's different from a lease. It's a subscription base. And Mike, you know this more than either one of us because you've been doing some research on this. So would you mind telling our viewers a little bit about that?
Sure. So the model up to now has been you buy an EV, which is just traditional loan. You put a down payment, you make monthly payments, 36 months, 72 months, whatever. The problem we're running into, and I say we as the industry, is the price of EV entry has gotten kind of high lately.
Right.
Even in the best of circumstances, Bolt aside, just about everybody else.
That doesn't count.
Yeah, well, it's old tech. I mean, it's a great entry car, but it's old tech.
Yeah.
So anything of current tech is pretty expensive. So then people turn to a lease. And for those that don't understand how a lease generally works, you pay a little bit of money down. They basically give you a contract and they'll say, all right, you can drive it for 10,000 miles a year for 2 years, 3 years. At the end of that, you have to give us the car back, or sometimes you're able to buy the car out at the end for what they call a residual.
Right.
That's changing. Both Tesla has stopped doing that. Ford has announced they've stopped doing that. When you lease the car, you can't buy the car at the end of the lease agreement. You got to give it back. So any money that you put down is gone. It's evaporated. You paid for the privilege. Even with those two options, buying a car, leasing a car, you still have to pay taxes. You got to buy the tags. You have insurance to pay. You have to replace the tires when they wear out, things like that. That's a consumable. New kid on the block. And I've seen a couple of variants of this. Sometimes they call it extended rental. Sometimes it's called subscription. But the subscription model is the one that really caught my eye. And what they're doing is they're saying, all right, we will give you a brand new car. You give us roughly 4 months of payments to make sure you can pay for a while. You do a 2-year commit. Okay, nothing different than a standard lease. However, the difference is this. Not only do you get the car, they pay for all the tags, they pay the tax, they pay the insurance, they pay for the charging. So, I mean, it's literally a turnkey. You get the car, you drive it for those 2 years. At the end of the 2 years, you're allowed to resubscribe to the same car if you're emotionally attached to it, or you can give it up and get a different car. Get a different
That
color,
one. Why would you
model.
not do that one?
Right.
Give me a new
well,
one, baby.
Some people don't like change, and,
Yeah.
And what's interesting is I went through the fine print, and God knows they got enough of it.
Sure.
But if the car has problems, significant problems, they'll just give you another car. They'll say, fine, this one's not working for you. Here's a different car. Because it's all part of the agreement. It's all part of the subscription service. It's like my phone. If I subscribe to Apple for my phone, if my phone stops working, they will give me a new phone or a refurbished, whatever they do. And the price delta is very interesting. It's certainly cheaper than buying the car, because to buy a Tesla Model Y takes about a $20,000-$25,000 down to get any kind of decent payment. To lease a Model Y from Tesla is about $5,000 for about $1,000 a month. Big hit. This particular place I was looking at, they charge $1,100 a month for the whole package. Car,
You don't put
insurance.
anything down.
Well, no, you do.
Okay.
You got, remember, like I said, you got to give them, it's 5 months payment.
Okay.
Out of the 5 months, at the end of the subscription, the 4 payments are used for the last 4 payments. They keep 1. That's the fee, which
Gotcha.
$1,000. I can go with that.
That's not bad.
It's a very interesting experiment, and we'll see how it shakes out. Volvo tried this about 3 years ago, but not quite to this degree. They didn't pay for your gas. They would pay the tax and license. And it looked okay, but it's still kind of expensive. But this is this is like $200 a month more than paying for a lease, and you get a lot more for it. And my opinion is we're going to see a lot more EV manufacturers going to this type of model.
Yeah.
It gives them an ability to get you into the car as a consumer, and it gives them complete control over the car at the end of the life cycle. If they want to get that car off the road and recycle it their way, then that's up to them. They don't have to worry about the car going out in the wild. And Ford's been making a big deal. That's Ford's reason for stopping the lease, is they want control over the life cycle of the EV at the end of the day. They don't want them out 10 years from now or 15 years from now having to support them. So
you have a Model Y on order through Tesla.
I
and do. What's your range at this point?
So I have a Model Y extended range on order, reservation. It's due sometime between December and February. This Model Y, the only ones they let you get are the Model Y Performance. Break my heart.
Geez, Mike.
I could have gotten a metallic gray next month, but I want the blue. So it'll be sometime in August or September.
So if this subscription service comes up, and let's say both the reservation and the subscription service comes up at the same time,
right?
Have you thought that far ahead in what you're going to do?
His headset is not working. Oh, he's coming back.
Lost my sound.
Oh.
Okay. You're back with us then?
I'm back with you.
Okay. So if you're the service that you just mentioned, if your spot comes up and if your Tesla reservation comes up right at the same time, have you thought that far down the road and what you're going to do?
So I can just cancel my I would keep the subscription because it's the P. Let's be realistic. It's the P. So the extended range I could cancel and say, no, I don't want it. I could pull a Lewis and just delay the acceptance because I want fancy headlights or whatever I can come up with at the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Or I can try to flip the reservation, which seems to be real popular. Or I can actually take the car and then flip it afterwards. And that's got some interesting appeal to it because what I see right now, the price for the one that I have on order today was $64 and change.
This is through the service, the subscription.
This is my walking into Tesla and buying the car. This is not the subscription.
Okay.
I just got a Car Guru alert for a 2021 with 30,000 miles Model Y extended range for $80,000.
Wow.
I mean, the prices are just nuts.
That's insane.
So, do I want to go through the headache of flipping the car? Hard to say.
Yeah.
The reality is I'll probably just cancel it and move on. But there's options.
And wait for your Cybertruck. No, I'm just kidding.
Not a chance in hell.
So you think we all three think that this is a cool idea, the subscription service? You think it's overall a cool idea, or you think it's
on paper I think it's very cool. It's all about the execution.
Okay. So what are the cons? What are this that comes out to you? What are the
first
cons
con?
about
2-year commit. If you want to bail out at the end of before 2 years, it gets kind of ugly.
But why would you do that if it's a Tesla? Why would you want to bail on a Tesla?
Change your life circumstances. I don't know. Maybe you work for Tesla and they just dumped you.
Wow. Ouch. I think it's a good idea overall. I mean, I feel like it's definitely kind of the direction things moving. It's almost silly that we even own cars, right? Like, there's the whole argument if things had been a different way, maybe we wouldn't own cars. If ride sharing was simpler and easier and more cost effective, if self-driving cars happen, I'm sure a lot fewer people will own cars, right? But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a good idea. It's like an in-between of ride sharing and, buying or leasing your own car. Them doing all the BS and not having to deal with all the extras is probably the biggest win, where you'll get a lot of people. I can imagine a lot of, whatever. I don't know what the generations are called anymore, but the younger generations are probably keen on not having to deal with all the nonsense.
My wife and I were talking about this before we accepted the deal, and the deal was, okay, at the end of 2 years, the reality is the kids are out of high school. We don't need the Y. We don't need that kind of room. So maybe we'll move to an S. I mean, we both love the S.
Do it.
So I mean that may be the perfect way to get into an S from a Y. Don't know.
Good idea.
Subscribe to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm jumping from a 3 to the Cybertruck, so that was my leapfrog thing, And there's a tweet. This is kind of off topic, but there was a tweet where Elon Tesla said they're going to start making them in this time next year, in 2023.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
I don't know if I believe that though.
I don't know if I believe it either. I mean, it's going to depend on supply chain.
Right. He'll
right?
make 100 of them like Rivian did and say, "Yep, we're delivering."
I mean, it's a supply chain issue. Otherwise, they'd be making them already, right? Like they're literally would be stealing parts from the other lines.
You think so, Lewis? You think it's not Elon in the background changed his mind how he wants things done, aka Steve Jobs?
No. I honestly don't. Like, I mean, I'm sure that has been going on for sure, of course. But I definitely feel like they're already dealing with parts issues. Oh, so like I didn't even mention this. They shipped me my car. It did not have, floor mats. It did not have the trunk cover. None of that is in the car.
Wow.
They literally are like, yeah, you'll get that in the next few months. Like they'll ship it to you. They physically don't have them, so they're shipping the cars without them. I mean, like that's the kind of stuff that you're dealing with. And if you look at
USB ports,
yes, I did actually. Thankfully, I do have the USB ports, but like, and the little USB.
You got your stick. All right,
stick. All right. Not that I use it. I put a hard drive in there, but anyway. So I mean, like they're having these types of issues, and if you look at all the electronics and the motors and all that kind of stuff. It's the same parts. They use the same boards. They use the same chips. So yeah. Anyway, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it'll happen when he says it'll happen. But we'll see.
So what's his name? Probst, Randy Probst, the guy in Pikes Peak. So Plaids are starting to he has his Plaid where he made it modified to where he can qualify. So Lewis, do you think you're gonna modify your because you had your old car you modified a little bit, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
oh, yeah.
do you think you're gonna do what he did in his Plaid? Or let me backpedal. Let me say this.
Sure.
Do you think it's what he did was a cool thing and something that is safe for the car?
I think it's cool. Like I think it's super cool. Safe is relative. I would say it's no less safe than anybody else driving the Pikes Peak. I mean, doing the Pikes Peak run has its own inherent risk. I mean, he's a professional. He knows what he's doing. So, I don't think I would have the audacity to think I'm good enough to pull that off because that's how you end up down the hill.
The wrong way.
But I mean, he knows what he's doing. As far as like what I think it's awesome. I think it's really cool. That they're doing it. I think there's a few companies actually. There's a few racing teams that are looking to do plaids. I saw another one I think called Electric Performance or something. But yeah, he's racing for Unplugged Performance. And it's really sweet. I mean, I'm not going to strip my car. I'm certainly not going to do all the things they did because they're trying. He has no airbag. Like I ain't doing that. But I mean, but he has a crash cage and a point harness and all that stuff. But But a lot of the upgrades they did, though, I actually am interested. I was looking at Unplugged Performance has a really cool air intake for your front rotors and brakes, which I thought was cool. So it literally will bring air right in to cool the brakes. They have the carbon ceramic front brake kit, which I think is cool. Make sure you put in your new brake fluid if you do that. For those that have seen that drama.
That kit is $20K, isn't it? Remember that?
No, so Tesla's is $20K. The unplugged one is like 9 to 10 because it's only the front. Because realistically, most of the braking action does happen in the front of the car. Yeah. So they only upgrade the front to the new rotors. And yeah, I mean, but things I'm looking at, like I plan on getting signature wheels, which are very beautiful and very expensive. That's a good $7,000 or whatever it is. But yeah, it's signature wheels. I definitely want to I'll probably upgrade the brake lines. I like the stiffer brake lines. I don't, not the flexible ones.
Yeah.
Do the air intake maybe that they have on Unplugged is pretty cool. Might do suspension adjustments. They've done a lot of cool stuff. I'm not going to strip it's still a daily driver in a sense. It's still supposed to be for family time. So,
Yeah,
You know,
Right.
even though the
when
car,
you're done.
I was going to say, my wife and I do not have children, and so the car is basically the college tuition for the kids we don't have.
Yep, there you go.
Well, but you have your dogs, and have your dogs been in the Plaid
Fur
yet?
babies. Oh man.
Excuse me. I know fur babies.
I tried to tell my wife when we were getting the car. I'm like, yeah, the dogs are not going in my car. If we need to bring the dogs somewhere, they're going in your car. And she was like, oh really?
Yeah.
And
really?
yeah, I lost that argument. So very soon, I'm sure the dogs will be in the car.
So what has kept you? You've had the car for over a week now. What's kept your wife from getting and doing 0 to 60? What's her excuse?
I don't know. She's just not a car person. I mean, she'll do it. Like I'm sure I want her to drive it. She hasn't driven it yet, but she wants to. So I'm sure we'll come up with an excuse. She's like me. She's a nerdy engineer. She stays inside. You know, she's painting miniatures as we speak. So little figurines for like board games and stuff.
I got you. If we're getting ready to wrap up soon, but if anyone is watching us on YouTube, feel free to ask us any comments about anything we talked about today, or maybe something you want us to talk about the next podcast. I'm very excited that Lewis finally got his Plaid, but I'm really disappointed that you didn't do the Matrix thing, because that was the whole point.
Oh man,
Yeah, right.
I can't. I can't.
I mean, you actually pushed out your delivery to get
I
that.
tilted the screen. Are you happy with that? I did my motorized screen tilts.
So it was motorized. It was actually
Oh, yeah.
within
Yep,
there?
motorized
'Cause I know we
screen
talked
tilted.
whether or not it would actually be ready to
Yeah,
tilt when you got it.
It works. Or
All right.
sorry, it's not tilting. Sorry, it's not tilting.
It's rotating.
It's what is that? Spanning? I don't know. What's the
So how? I mean, how
panning? Yeah.
you know, how effective is it? I mean, are you like, oh my gosh, I'm glad I got this in my car, because now, I mean, really?
Oh no, it does nothing. If you don't have the screen tilt, there's no reason. Somebody asked me today the car. They're like, "Oh, are you using that feature?" I'm like, "No, I did it when. Oh, that's cool." And then it sits in the normal mode. I don't use it.
I mean, Lewis, look, man. I mean, since day one of this podcast, I can't believe, they've making me wait, and zappa dabba do, and then you get it. You're like, well,
Then it
I've
doesn't
not
do
done
it.
this, I'm not done that, oh, but woe is me, I'm a software guy, I gotta work and do this, and I haven't had chance, bruh. It's just a
Mark,
bunch
the
of,
headlights will be better in the dark. I just haven't driven at night yet. When I do drive at night, I will appreciate them because they are better for illuminating at night.
You're kind of like me when I bought this the CCS charge. I spent all this money, I jumped through all these hoops, like I got.
Yeah, have you used it yet?
And I haven't used it yet.
No.
It's called gear acquisition syndrome. I just have to buy it. Like my dopamine is like, okay, I got it. But bruh, you literally postpone the car, and all you would say is like, these Matrix headlights, da da da. But you're like, okay, well,
And the worst part is, like, in the time that I did that, the prices of things went up, the economy changed, the financing options were all different. Like, it would have been better if I bought it sooner.
Okay. Last thing. So, what's the first mod you're gonna do on the car? Your first mod.
The very first one, PPF. I guess technically it's not really a mod. Okay, the very first one will probably be the wheels then.
You realize PPS doesn't help you against shopping carts.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
That's what's gotten me twice. The damn shopping carts.
Yeah, I park. That's why I park out in the middle of nowhere. And sometimes you park in the middle of
too.
nowhere, and people still park next to you. I guess because you got a nice looking car. I don't know.
I had one guy do that to me the other day. I parked in the middle of nowhere because I just got the car, and then I walk out, and there's a car right next to me, and there's nobody around. I'm like, come on.
I got you. Well, hopefully the next time we have our podcast, maybe your lovely wife will get into it, and she'll actually adjust the suspension and drive it. Since you, I mean, all the features that make the S Plaid what it is, you haven't really used. It's just what I'm saying. But you motor.
I use the horsepower. That's the only feature that matters.
Whatever. But you move the screen. Hey guys, I moved the screen. You can pan. Ugh. You've done that, but you've not done anything else.
I can tell you, Mark. On my side of the world, I actually use profiles in my Model 3 because my wife has got a very distinct profile she likes put together for the car. I've got mine. she's the one that comes home talking about the Porsche she just blew away going up the hill.
I
not
love
too far
that.
from the house.
Oh,
I
man.
love that. I love it.
Your wife sounds like fun.
I love it. I love it.
She has her moments.
I love it. All right, guys. Well, look, I love you guys. Like, you're brothers from another mother. I enjoy all these episodes, you guys. You guys really bring the pain. You bring the heart and soul, the wise information, things that us laymen don't really know. You guys are really good at. So thank you always for coming out. Thanks for the guys behind the scenes that are making this happen.
Yep.
Doug, Danny, all those cats. Without them, we couldn't bring this to you guys.
Couldn't do it without them.
Yeah, you guys, if you're watching us on YouTube, as always, please like and subscribe. We want to hear your questions or comments you may have. Please feel free to leave them here. People read the comments, and if there's something you want to discuss for next podcast, hey, go right away and do all of that. You can also share your questions on the podcast section in the Tesla Motors Club forum, or right here in the comments. If you would like to support the podcast, please consider becoming a supporting member on the TMC website. And you can always follow this wonderful group of people and Tesla Motors Club forum on all the social media. The links below are in the description. So for myself, Lewis, Mike, we appreciate you guys from coming out and listening to us and hanging out with us on this beautiful Sunday. We'll see you next time. For now, we out.